I recently watched through the Unbreakable Trilogy for the very first time just this past week, so why not stop and rank all three of the Unbreakable Trilogy films? Hi, my name is Nathan, and I talk about a bunch of movies on this channel. If you're new here, down below in the comment section, share your ranking of the three M. Night Unbreakable Trilogy films. Over on my channel, I have more content like this. Check those out once this video is over. And if you enjoyed this video, click the like button and be sure to subscribe. It really does help a lot. And as a point of reference, I'm very new to this franchise. I hadn't really seen any of these movies until just this past week. And maybe you guys have more experience with this franchise, more familiarity with it than I do. So just know that I'm new to this franchise going into it. With that said, let's just get straight into the ranking. Coming in last place is Glass, the third and final installment in this trilogy. I actually have a little bit of nostalgia for this movie because I remember when this movie came out when I was 9 years old by the time that it actually would have came out. And I saw it in the theater because I liked Samuel L. Jackson and stuff at the time and I liked superhero movies. But I didn't really understand anything that was going on in the movie back when I saw it in the theater in 2019. And so in all real cases, this was really just a first time watch for me, and I got a better understanding of it, of course, since I was older, but also because I had seen the previous two films in the franchise when I watched this movie just last week. And this movie is so frustrating because there's a lot of stuff in here that I really enjoy. On the positive side, you get three lead characters, and you get three fantastic performances with Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, and James McAvoy. And and it makes sense with where their characters are in this stage of life. I thought it did a good enough job of sort of continuing the plot lines from Unbreakable, the characters from Unbreakable, as well as James McAvoy from Split. I was really enjoying the first half when it was sort of focusing in on a little bit of James McAvoy's character and a little bit of David Dunn, who's Bruce Willis's character. And that aspect I really enjoyed about it in the first half. When it gets to like the psychiatric hospital, it gets a little bit interesting there. And then it starts to lose me in the back half a little bit, where it decides to put a bunch of focus on James McAvoy and Mr. Glass, Samuel L. Jackson's character. And those two characters, when they're together, are just not nearly as interesting as David Dunn in this movie. James McAvoy's character was very interesting in the movie Split, but once you pair him up with Samuel L. Jackson, Mr. Glass, I don't feel like they're all that interesting together. And it tries to culminate it all into this big final fight between the three superheroes. And with where it ends, it just ends the trilogy on kind of a really, really sour note, where it just leaves kind of a gross taste in your mouth by the time you get to the end, where it just ends these characters in such an unsatisfying way that I didn't particularly want this movie to deliver. Also, there was just this question going on throughout the movie that I was asking, like, why is Anya Taylor-Joy's character all of a sudden sympathetic and care about James McAvoy, the guy who kidnapped her and literally ate two of her friends in the previous movie Split? And so overall, while this movie does really have a lot of high highs, I really enjoyed a bunch of what this movie had to offer. Where it ends, and especially where it takes things into the second half, just left a sour taste in my mouth, so I can't really fully recommend this movie at all, really. Our runner-up is Unbreakable, M. Night Shyamalan's take on the superhero genre, and their first adventure into this world was extremely ahead of its time, as the superhero movie genre today, and the comic book movie genre, has gone bigger, bolder, and they have certainly tried to outdo every single superhero movie. And with this film, it's not that at all. It's really just like a compelling thriller while also being a deconstruction of comic books, superheroes, and the movie superhero genre. As it's a film that really is about a character discovering who he really is and what he should become of himself in life, given the skills that he's discovering that he has that he never knew that he had. And it's really the slow-paced, deliberate thriller that just works really well. A big part of that, of course, with all three of these movies, you get great performances, in particular from Bruce Willis in this movie, who's just believable as this completely normal guy living a normal life until he realizes the gifts that he has and that he can use them for good. And it's like a kind of a classic superhero story, while not at all feeling like a superhero movie. It's much more a thriller and a character journey and a character study, really. Another great performance you have in here is, of course, Samuel L. Jackson, who's a little bit of kind of that counterbalance to Bruce Willis, David Dunn, as he kind of helps him discover the gifts that he has in this crazy way, while also it feels grounded in sort of reality. It doesn't at all feel like a fantastical superhero movie. It feels much more down to earth and serious. It doesn't rely on any sort of big action sequences, despite legitimately being a superhero origin story. It has virtually no action in the entire movie, but because you're so compelled by the characters, it works really well. Now, I like M. Night Shyamalan's slow thrillers. The Sixth Sense is one of my favorite movies of all time. This one, I would say, is a little bit too slow-paced for my liking. And so it wasn't fully there. It didn't fully kind of blow me away, but it was a really nice experience. And considering where the superhero movie genre is at right now, it was extremely ahead of its time, like I said. So it's kind of nice to watch a movie like this right now for the first time in an era where we get a bunch of big blockbuster superhero films. But coming in first place for me is Split. Now, I love these types of small-scale thrillers where this movie doesn't have a ton of moving parts or characters in it. There's less than 5 or maybe even 7 characters in this movie that are actually important to the main plot, but that's exactly why it works so well. It's a very simple, straightforward thriller about this crazy lunatic guy that we're not exactly sure who he is and what exactly he does, what he does in this movie, which is kidnap these girls for. And that just makes it very interesting as you're watching a character and you don't really know who he is. And these girls trying to escape from his clutches, and it's a very simple thriller. It's not even sort of like a superhero movie as much as the other two. It's much more an escape thriller. It explores this strange character with James McAvoy in the lead, where he has so many different personalities going on inside of his mind, along with just the right amount of creepiness in his performance. And he is also able to emote whenever he shifts personalities, and it's so believable in a way that's unsettling. James McAvoy just... This is probably the movie that I've seen him in where he displays the most talent with his acting skills. Where he's seamlessly able to appear as a 9-year-old child, as a beast that feeds off of humans, as just a normal guy, as a really strange person, even as a woman, and it's all believable, and it's this disorienting character where you're not entirely sure who he is and why he's doing what he's doing, but at the same time, you don't necessarily need that to make the movie better. Also, it's just really nice to see a young Anya Taylor-Joy in this movie before she became super famous with, she did a show called The Queen's Gambit. I haven't seen it, but she recently did Furiosa and got added into the Mad Max franchise. And the entire movie kind of crescendos into the satisfying finale, where it's all set up very properly with the establishment of the character of James McAvoy and everything we've learned about him previously, and also everything we've learned about Anya Taylor-Joy's character previously. And it comes to a very satisfying end, and it just has a nice little twist sort of reveal at the end. And so for me, of the 3 Unbreakable movies, this is the one that was most to my liking. This was the most thrilling one, and it's the one where I was the most captivated from beginning to end. So for me, of these three movies, it is my favorite. There you have it. That's my ranking of the Unbreakable Trilogy. Down below in the comment section, share your ranking of these three movies over on my channel. I have more content like this. Check those out right now. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end, and I will see you in the next one.